You're listening to Are You Crazy, a podcast about mental health in Malaysia with me, your host, Ilya Pikri. And today, I thought I'd start with a question. Are you okay? To be honest, if you're interested in this sort of podcast, then you are probably some version of not okay. And well, that's okay, considering the times we live in. It is a pandemic. There's a recession coming up, and well, that's just world stuff. That's not even considering, you know, just living life as a person with a job, with your studies, with your family, with your relationship, with your kids. Things can be a lot sometimes, right? So, I thought today it would be pretty interesting if I talked about negative emotions, bad feelings, and well, specifically and maybe surprisingly, how to feel them in a pretty healthy way. And well, before we get into that, let's just talk about negative emotions for a second. I think that negative emotions have a bad reputation when they shouldn't be. Well, I mean, for one thing, it's called negative emotions, and I guess I don't know where this comes from, whether society or whether from us ourselves, but I guess I can understand the impulse, right? For example, maybe this happened long before, or maybe this has been gone from your memory for a while now, but maybe once upon a time you felt a negative emotion, maybe sadness, maybe disappointment. You allowed yourself to feel that emotion, and then because of that, you let it run and you end up lashing out against someone and saying things that you didn't really mean. So that probably taught you that negative emotions were not a good thing to feel. Or maybe it's something more internal. You feel sad, you feel disappointed, you feel angry, you think about it. And these sort of emotions have a habit of bringing forth more similar emotions. And then you start thinking about those, and then more and more and more negative stuff. And then you end up feeling sadder or angrier than you would have if you just never allowed yourself to feel those emotions in the first place. So, we watch Netflix, we read books, we play a lot of games, and we try not to live where we are right now. And that's not a bad way to cope with your emotions, actually, first of all. Compartmentalizing is actually a healthy skill. It allows you to not feel your emotions when it's not convenient for you or when you're mentally exhausted, and push it to a later date when you can feel it somewhat more effectively. But the problem is, we, or maybe I, speaking from personal experience, do too much of the compartmentalizing and trying not to feel those emotions, and a little less taking time later on to sit down and actually feel your feelings because of the aforementioned lashing out or perhaps things getting worse. According to an article by New York Times, which I will be linking in the description of whatever wherever you're listening to this, our minds will often try to solve a problem, even if it's a problem that we can't solve. That's just how humanity, that's how our brains work, and that's just how humanity got to where we are today. And in this author's life as a psychologist, apparently, some of her clients describe associating worrying with warding off bad outcomes. It seems like the strategy of worrying works because when you worry, you think about the worst possible situations, and real life often ends up somewhere in the middle, so these things don't seem to come true. So you think, oh, things aren't as bad as I thought they would be, therefore worrying works. Or maybe we tend to worry and ruminate on our negative feelings and our negative thoughts because it feels like it's something that we can do. It takes us out of our emotions and into kind of action mode. Even though the action is just thinking, you're allowing yourself to think, try to think about solutions. And that, my dear friends, is the path to anxiety or depression. Not that I'm diagnosing you with anxiety or depression, but I would say that this is kind of the mindset that leads there. Even though compartmentalizing your emotions away is, like I said, a good skill, the thing is, it's not permanent. So here's the problem. If you keep doing that, eventually it keeps building and building into this horrible emotional bubble. And eventually, because you keep pushing it away, it demands to be felt. So it comes rushing out, and somehow you end up being more sad or more angry than you would have been if you just felt those emotions in the first place. That can be an issue. I had to go to therapy to learn this, but there is a way for you to feel your emotions as they are, all your emotions, both positive and negative, without necessarily letting them kill you. And that is called mindfulness. So, mindfulness is the practice of being in the moment as you are right now without any lingering judgment or resentment. This doesn't sound easy, right? And yeah, it's not, especially if you're just starting out, because mindfulness, like most things that come in relation to the brain, is a skill. And it's just something that we never allowed ourselves to feel before. And to kind of tout the benefits of mindfulness somewhat, I have this book called Mindfulness and the Art of Managing Anger by Mike Fisher here. And I'm going to read a short excerpt of the whole book here called Befriending Stillness. Taking time out of our pursuit of doing allows space for the soul to deepen and breathe. The pathway to experiencing tranquility is to befriend stillness and solitude, which allows you to perceive and relate differently to your world. Many people simply accept that stress is a part of life, but few of us have an acute sense of what it's actually doing to our bodies. We tend not to relate to our central nervous system. We simply take it for granted that it functions in the background, maintaining our homeostasis, and that there are times when we feel wired and others when we do not. So his argument is that, well, and also my argument, I guess, is mindfulness allows you to reconnect with who you are as you are truly. So there's a few ways to do it, and the way that I'm going to teach you, which is the practice of mindfulness, honestly just takes maybe about 10 minutes. You can do it once a week, you can do it once a day, you can do it once a month, whatever. Whenever you feel like there's times when there's too much going on and you just want to sit and be still for a while, you carve out time in your schedule. And I cannot stress this enough. The thing about self-care is that we tend to not prioritize it because we think, oh, we'll get to it when we get to it. And the problem with that is when you don't schedule it in, it doesn't seem important, and then you end up not doing it, even though it's something that is important to you, right? Okay, so sorry for the digression. Let's get back on track. Please schedule time for mindfulness, just maybe 10 minutes a week. And here's a little thing what you can do. I like to do what is called the body scan. First thing you do is you take a deep breath as slow as possible until your lungs are filled. And while you're taking that breath, try to count how long it takes. So, for example, if you inhale for 6 seconds, try to double the exhale, which is 12 seconds. So, for example, inhale 5 seconds, exhale 10 seconds. Inhale 7 seconds, exhale 14 seconds. It's a little bit of math, don't worry about it. And you do this and you start doing it. So first thing you do after you've taken that first breath is maybe close your eyes, take a breath, and exhale. And whatever you do, 5 seconds, 10 seconds, 6 seconds, 12 seconds, keep doing that. Don't kind of switch around, right? So inhale and exhale. And as you're doing this, as your eyes are closed, we do the body scan, which is while you're inhaling, you imagine that air expanding in your chest. And then while you're also doing that, when you're inhaling, you start feeling where you are right now. Can you feel the pressure of the chair against you? Can you feel your clothes hanging on you. As you're doing that, inhale and exhale. Keep feeling how it expands and contracts your chest. And then you start in at one of your inhales. Bring it maybe to the top of your head. Like try to just imagine the air going to your head and maybe feel your face. See if your face is holding on to any tension. If you notice any, breathe into it. And as you exhale, try to exhale the tension out of you. And you keep doing this from the top of your body to the bottom of your body. And honestly, you can just take your time with it. If you feel like kind of jumping from your head to your arms and then going to your neck, you're free to do so. Just, you can be a little bit playful with it. Just have a little fun with it. If it's hard for you to stay focused on your breath while you're doing all of this, it could be useful to listen to a track and let someone else guide you. So, 10 minutes a week, you play a track, you close your eyes, you lie down or sit down somewhere, you let it happen, and this will bring you much more in tune with how you feel. What is important here is that if you feel any emotions or any thoughts coming, don't be hard on yourself. Again, this is all a skill. And what you can do instead is to gently, as you're breathing, refocus on your breath and let that emotion or thought pass by. Noted. I see you there, thought or emotion. I understand that you exist, and I am aware of you now. You can pass on. And if it keeps happening, if the same emotion or thought keeps coming back, just let it happen. Refocus gently, refocus on your breath, let it pass by. And within those 10 minutes, just once a week, every 10 minutes, it will do you a lot of good. It will kind of teach you how to acknowledge your emotions without letting it take over you. And I think it's a really useful way to kind of get a sense of, in general, what are you feeling at the time. If it's negative emotions, hey, you're allowing yourself to feel it. You're not allowing it to kind of get pent up in your head, and you are allowing yourself to acknowledge that this is something that is happening. And because when you do mindfulness, you're kind of just sitting there and breathing, right? You're also teaching yourself how to feel these emotions without having to act on these emotions, but also just letting it, again, I keep saying this, but that's what it is. You're letting your emotions pass by without ruminating on it and without really, like reacting to it. You let it happen, you observe it, and with the understanding of what emotions and thoughts and worries that you have, you can plan a map of action with your conscious brain instead of your lizard brain that just wants to lash out against everything. That is, I think, the value of mindfulness, and that's how it's helped me personally. Just to kind of delve a little bit into myself, I used to have a lot of personal anger issues. I'm still not great at it, frankly. I still get angry sometimes, but I do think that mindfulness has taught me how to kind of give myself a buffer between me being myself and feeling all the emotions that I have a right to feel without having to react to it immediately. So sometimes what happens is, for example, my mom accidentally threw away something that I really, really need, and it made me upset. So, what I would usually have done is yelled at her about throwing that thing, and that's probably not good. But what it taught me, mindfulness, is for me to calm down and approach her and calmly have a discussion with her about how, hey, so when you throw away stuff like this, it makes me feel unhappy. And if possible, could you, if you see similar things to this, could you in the future not touch it? And yeah, the thing about that is that those emotions are valid. I had a reason to be upset about my mom throwing away my stuff, but with mindfulness, I'm able to have a real conversation with her, and more importantly, get real results from it. And that's just a personal example. There's a lot of other ways to do, there's a lot of ways to kind of, I guess, strategize mindfulness. And the whole 10-minute breathing thing is not the only way to do mindfulness. You can pretty much do it everywhere. For example, I went on a, to be honest, not very legal walk outside to exercise. And while I was doing that, it was raining. So I kind of just let myself be in the moment as much as possible. Because again, it's a skill and I'm not that great at it, but I felt kind of the water droplets fall on me. I felt the cool air. I was breathing quite slowly. I observed the beautiful parks around my housing area. I observed the people that I had to walk away from because I wanted the social distance. And just in general, enjoyed being in the moment. I was honestly doing something childish, which was looking at flowers, but you know what? It's okay. At the moment, I didn't allow myself to judge myself for being childish, and upon reflection later, I decided that being childish is not a bad thing. So, yeah, you can go for a walk. You can, for example, while you're eating, notice what it tastes like on your taste buds. Notice maybe the color of the things around you. How many colors are there? Are you feeling hot? Are you feeling cold? Are you feeling hungry? Even outside of the 10 minutes, you could, when you have free time, just kind of sit down and allow yourself to just be where you are. And if you feel something, let it happen. You don't have to act on it. And yeah, that's something empowering, I feel, and something that helps me kind of make sense of the negative emotions. It's because if I understand that I don't have to react to it in that moment, I feel like I have power over that emotion. If you want to know more about mindfulness, beyond what I've said, there is a Harvard Business Review article that I would also be linking in the description that would be very helpful. It talks about how if mindfulness is making you uncomfortable, it's working. And that's the thing. With mindfulness, the good thing is if you're feeling positive emotions, it really elevates all your positive emotions. But if things around you aren't good, if you're in a bad marriage, for example, or things at work are going wrong for one reason or another, it also makes you, or actually allows you, to feel those feelings more. And mindfulness during work allows you to identify why that is. Because you have the ability to not act on your emotions immediately, complex emotions can also be felt and can be dealt with as complexly as the human brain is able to strategize. We're all good at strategizing, we're just really bad at strategizing when we're overwhelmed by emotions. So, mindfulness gives you the buffer to use your big brain to think about solutions for the problems in your life. And it allows you, maybe some, for me at least, the creativity to address your problems. So, yeah, that is a little bit about mindfulness. I hope that helps somewhat. And again, okay, wait, no. I want to put forward something really important, which is don't let things that are supposed to be therapeutic be the thing that you punish yourself with. So I've heard a lot of cases where people say that mindfulness doesn't work for them. I know a lot of people who are in therapeutic circles, and they will say that. Frankly, that's fine. We are all different people, and mindfulness, which works for me, might not work for them. That's okay. Don't use that to punish yourself. Don't tell yourself like, oh, I'm bad at mindfulness, or mindfulness doesn't work for me, blah, blah, blah. If it doesn't work right now, that's okay. Maybe you could practice a little bit more, but if it never works, it's okay to move on. It's just not a match, you know? Let yourself part ways with ease. And again, don't let the feelings of anger and hate and self disappointment consume you. Maybe it's just you need to do something else. Well, I hope that I was able to go into mindfulness the way I understand it in a quite satisfactory way. I'll again have some links to certain mindfulness tracks that maybe have helped me personally, and you could probably go to those and have a listen, see if they help you or not. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thanks so much for listening, and I will see you all again next week. Bye!